Welcome to this update video from the Cha0sHof, in which we want to show you how we built a shelter for the press house to get a little bit stuff sorted, which just is laying around. We also took care about our harvest and the plants in the last couple of 3 weeks. I want to take you on a little journey through our market garden. And as we had some handy visitors on the farm, we used their workforce to create a staircase up to the attic of our press house, which was very much needed. As you may have seen in other videos already, we have a lot of old wood beams on the farm. These are mainly softwood beams, and we're trying to use them in a lot of projects, as they have here and there some fungus problems or worm or other bug problems. We're trying to get rid of them by using them up. Of course, we have to cut around a lot of pieces which aren't really good. So the first thing that we always do is cut them open with a push saw. We're using a chalk string for that to mark out where we want to have, which parts we want to have from that wood, and then cut them open in the outdoors. This is something I'd rather do in the outdoors, as this produces a lot of sawdust, which I don't necessarily want to clean up later on in the workshop. As we're done with cutting the boards open, or the beams, we went to the inside to use the planer or the thicknesser to shove them through. As it's not super important that they are very square with each other, we just ran them through the thicknesser a couple of times, as they had a lot of bad spots in them, and then started to clean out the press house where we wanted to add the shelf. After everything was tidied up, we decided to get the first frame, which we built in the workshop in, and I found out that I have somewhere drawn the wrong line and had to replace one of the cross beams, which was not a big deal. I could unscrew and rescrew them. Then we used those lengthy parts for the long beams on the long side, and we just screwed them to the beams of the old rack, which should be stiff enough, as we put quite some extensive force on them, and they lay on the old cross beams as well within the rack. They should be very strong and stand up to the forces that we're gonna put on them. As you already can see, there's a lot of electrician installation at the back of that room as well, as we are in the process of getting lights in here, and also in the room next door to it, which is the cool house, and the basement underneath it. But as always, this takes a lot of time, and we just do it whenever we find the time and the necessary need to do it. So this will take a couple of days or weeks before we're done with it. We're using old facade boards, which we got from one of our neighbors. We have been using them in a lot of projects and still have some left. Not much, but a little bit. We used them in the compost toilets and with a tool shed at the farm. We use those for the facades as well. Those for sure aren't the strongest boards, but for the distance that they have to cover, it's quite enough. And we already put quite some loads on them, and it didn't have any problems with cracking or so. Talking about cracking, we cracked on screwing those bolts, and just in 2 hours we were basically done with everything and had a fully functional rack finished, and put all the stuff that formerly were laying on the ground or were unsorted laying somewhere around into it, which pleases the eye and us working in here. Last step is putting everything back or sorting it to a better place, and also making a thought what can finally go to the dumpster and should not be put back into the... This was a short but very important project, as fall comes faster than you think, and we will have to store a ton of stuff again in here. It was good to clean out the space and make a little bit less of a mess. As you may have seen from the thumbnail, we spend a lot of time in the market garden, not just goofing around, but also taking care about the plants, fertilizing them, watering them, and replanting new plants where we need them. One of the big challenges this year has been the cabbage. And it's sometimes frustrating to see how much time you spend into raising those plants and planting them outside, and then they just get eaten or get sick. Unfortunately, this year we had problems with pests and with sicknesses at the cabbage. But therefore, something else turned out to be very good, which is our beans. They grow really nice this year. But as it is with nature, something is well, and some other things aren't as well each year. So this is something that we have to learn, although it's sometimes very hard to accept. Something we did this year right quite nice, at least I do think so, is not having too many empty spots and filling them up in time. Of course, we could be always better here and there with something, but in general, we're pretty pleased with how fast we're able to cover spots that we just harvested or where we are starting to grow new plants. And here you can see a part of the vegetables that we currently are harvesting and growing, and I think it has a very nice color theme to it. Towards the end of summer, the amounts that you harvest are getting bigger and bigger. At least for us, that's the case. This is not just due to the fact that the pumpkins are getting ready, also some other plants dropped some really big fruits. And yes, that in the middle is a beetroot with nearly 2 kilograms. And here's a short insight of what we harvested on the 22nd of August. Which was quite a nice harvest with in total close to 140 kilograms of vegetables. From this 140 kilograms, 60 kilograms were zucchinis. I wish the project for next year is getting a little bit a better organized setup for our harvesting table. As mentioned, we have a lot of beams on the farm, which we bought or inherited from the former owner. Some of those have been infested with bugs, others of those are very fine to use but have way too big dimensions. So we sorted through this stack of wood and cleared a little bit the bushes and smaller trees around it to have a better working space. We then took a chainsaw from one of our neighbors and started to cut into length which kind of pieces we need, as we had a rough idea how the stairwell should look at the end of the day. And then I made use of those handy peoples that I had around, told them what I'd like to see, and basically give them free hand to start working on this stair, which turned out super nice and very stiff and very structurally solid, which is needed as this is the stairway up to the attic on the press house, where we store all our onions and the garlic. So we walk these stairs up and down many times. Formerly we had a ladder there, but the problem was that at least I fell down this ladder already 3 times with a box of garlic or onion in my hands, weighing at least 20 kilograms, which is not a pleasant thing to do, and as harvest will become better in the next coming years, it's important that these stairs are solid and they're in place. As we stopped filming at a certain time with the stop motion video, here's a short overview video from what the stairs looks now, and I think you can see why I'm so pleased with how they turn out. And that's it. We are at the end of this update video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you most likely again in 3 weeks. Have a nice one. Bye.